Another concept that we learn in Chapter 2 is the high-low method. The purpose of the high-low method is where you have a mixed cost that includes both fixed and variable components. And with the high-low method, we have a quick way, not a perfect way, but a quick way of breaking those costs into fixed versus variable components. In this exercise, exercise 2-4, we're going to look at the electrical costs for a hotel. Now, the hotel has a base amount of electricity that it has to use throughout the year to keep the hotel functional, regardless of how many people are using the hotel. This is what we're going to consider the fixed electrical cost. But we also need to determine what the variable amount is, and that's how much the electrical use varies depending on how much the hotel is used. And how we'll measure that is occupancy days. So we have all the data up here for every month, and it shows the number of occupancy days, which is based on the number of rooms rented, and then the total cost of electricity for that month. So using this data from probably a prior year, we can predict what the cost could be in the future year based on how we expect to be able to rent the hotel. So the first formula that we need to learn how to use is the overall cost formula. And we're going to use this formula throughout the term, so it's something good to get very familiar with. And please don't be intimidated by this. It's not that difficult. We just have to kind of figure out what each of these symbols mean. So y equals a plus bx. So y is our total electrical cost, just like we have a total electrical cost up here in this per month table. Y equals a, our fixed baseline cost, plus the variable cost per occupancy day, so the variable rate, times the number of units, so how much we use the hotel. That makes sense. What is our total cost? It's the fixed cost plus the variable cost based on how much we're using it. So we also have to use the second formula, which is the variable cost formula for the high-low method. Now, this is just specific to the high-low method. So what we're going to calculate here is what is the variable cost, which is B. It's going to be the change in cost that we see up in this table divided by the change in activity. So let's see how this works. First thing we need to do is what are the high and low cost months? And if you look up at this table, you see that the high month is August. We have $8,111, 3608 occupancy days. And then the low month is October, which has $1,712 in electricity, 186 occupancy days. So we take the high cost for August, subtract the low cost for October, divide that by the change in activity we're seeing, which is the high occupancy days for August minus the low occupancy days for October. And we come up with $1.87 variable cost per occupancy day. And I also showed down here what I was trying to explain, which is this calculation, $8,111 minus $1,712 represents the change in cost between August and October, and then this is the change in activity. Now that you've calculated the variable cost per occupancy day using the high-low formula, you can go back to the original cost formula and drop in what you know using this variable cost that you just calculated. And then you can use any month. I'm going to grab the high month and look at and drop in what I know into the cost formula. So for the high month, the total cost was $8,111. And what I don't know is what's the fixed cost, so we'll leave that A, plus $1.87 is the variable rate, times what are the occupancy days for August? They were 3608. If we solve for A, we come up with total fixed electrical costs of $13.64. So now we've just figured out what is the variable cost per unit, and then what's the overall fixed electrical costs. Once we have these two components, we can figure out what our total electrical costs are going to be at any level of activity. So for example, let's say we had $2,500 of occupancy day. We can drop these numbers into the cost formula. Here's our total fixed cost plus the variable cost times the 2,500 occupancy day, and we know that at that level of occupancy, the total electrical cost will be $6,039. This method is really useful for budgeting. So you're trying to figure out how much cost you're going to have in the future based on how much activity you think you're going to have, and this allows us to create an estimate for that.